Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I'm going to be providing you with a full breakdown and review of the new Dr. Home exotic rifle that was just added to the Division 2. It was released this week with the TU 16.4 update for the game, and the way you can acquire this is by completing the Season 10 Manhunt of General Anderson. Once you complete the 4 sub-targets, you unlock the final Manhunt Prime target mission, and once you complete that, you get the Dr. Home exotic rifle. If you do not complete the Manhunt before the conclusion of Season 10, which should be around late January, then there will be some other way to get it in Season 11. We don't yet know if they're going to just add it to the general loot pool or if you're going to have to unlock the Season 10 mission in the Season 11 reward track and then play the mission. Either way, if you want to get this gun and not have to do those extra steps in Season 11, you should get on it now. But the gun has released and people want to know if it's worth the grind. So what does the Dr. Home do? Let's take a look at the name and the talent. You can see that the description there is a house isn't home until you can defend it. The Dr. Home comes with rifle damage, crit damage, and damage to targets out of cover, and the talent is Dr. Home. Shooting an enemy with this weapon will apply a mark for 5 seconds. If a marked target is killed, it will drop a 15% armor repair kit, which applies to the whole party. When picked up, the kit will not give bonus armor. Now, I've been playing with this thing for a few hours in order to be able to do this review, and I believe from my testing, the 15% armor is the 15% armor of whatever the receiver's total armor is, right? For some talents, it's whatever your armor is, so the build, wildly depends on if you're building tankier or more squishy. With this, I believe it's just giving 15% armor of the total value of the receiver's armor, so it doesn't matter what your armor value is. Whenever you pick up a kit, it will give whatever the receiver is getting 15% of their total armor, so that's probably a good detail to know. It has your pretty standard exotic setup of a few mods. You get 10% accuracy on the sight, 10% stability on the muzzle, 10% weapon handling on the grip, and then a 10% reload speed magazine. And taking a look at how this thing fires, it's actually quite stable. It's pretty cool. I mean, it forces you to scope in, which I don't think is, necessarily the biggest bonus, but you can see I'm not controlling the recoil at all. It pretty much just stays in place, which is very nice. And I'm not entirely sure if the kits will show up down here in the range, but if not, you will see it in the gameplay very shortly. But once we take a target out here, you can see that mark applies above their head, bam, and the kit is right there. Obviously, we can't walk over and get it because it's behind the barriers, but that is what the kit looks like. You just walk up and grab it, and then you grab one of those, and that gives you the 15% armor to your entire team. Also, a fun little note here is that because of that kind of green underbarrel where there's some cool, you can't really see it in the inspector, but there's some cool like liquid down there. It's a decent design. I do think the color scheme is still a little bit odd, but you can see it a little bit there, that green that's down there. If you hip fire this thing, you get this cool like green cloud when you shoot, which is pretty neat. It doesn't show up when you ADS, which I guess is kind of nice because otherwise your view would probably be pretty obstructed, but it's a nice little detail, and I do think the overall design of the weapon is pretty cool. But the real question is this exotic good? Is it worth going after? The general consensus that I've seen, and even before I acquired the weapon, I was doing the Manhunt live on stream before I got it, a lot of people were coming in and saying this thing is complete trash, it's not worth your time, yada yada. And, I can understand that mentality when it's more of a support weapon. Maybe people were expecting different things, but I think this gun absolutely falls into the category of good, but not meta, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? The devs have gone on record many times before saying that their philosophy with exotics is that they're not trying to make each and every one of them best in slot. They're trying to make each of them very good at fulfilling specific purposes, and maybe some end up being better than others, but they should each have an individuality and a uniqueness that makes them valuable towards the game. And again, I'm not saying that's necessarily the right or wrong way to go about exotic design. I'm just saying that that is their proclaimed philosophy. And I think the Dr. Home absolutely embodies this. It has its niche. It's not going to really outperform other stuff, but the stats are totally competitive. It has a really high RPM, as you're seeing in some of the gameplay. It can really pop off those shots really quick. Kind of wish it had a larger magazine size when it shoots that fast, but it also has super low recoil, like you saw in the shooting range and in the gameplay. You can pop headshots very easily. You don't have to control it at all, and it just makes it a really super fun gun to handle. And as far as its like competitiveness in endgame content, you can see in the background I'm doing countdown on challenging difficulty, which is kind of the default one, and it was doing great. I was popping off ads pretty easily. I had a more damage-oriented setup, but it is more of a support gun from the talent, right? And I was just able to pick up those kits. I was able to heal the entire team, which is very nice in a group-focused game mode like Countdown, so it fulfills its role quite well. The idea that I had for this weapon, going all the way back to when it was announced in the patch notes for the PTS, was to run it in the Dark Zone and have kind of a setup going where I could go into a landmark, right, and take out a bunch of ads with it and just leave the kit sitting there, and then if I'm ever in the middle of a fight or my team is, and we need healing, or we're out of a fight but we're still in combat, we can't heal, we don't have any kits left, you can run through there and get a bunch of burst healing all at once, you know, whether, like I said, whether that's during the middle of a fight or in between. And I tried that myself. I went into a landmark and it does just fine in there. Against those challenging difficulty enemies, it does great. It does a lot of damage. You can mark the enemies, then, you know, either you or your teammates can kill them. I mean, it fulfills, like I said, it fulfills its role and it fulfills its niche perfectly fine. I think some people were anticipating greatness with this weapon, you know, whether it was because of the wait we had for it until the end of the Manhunt. Maybe some people thought then it was going to be more special than other exotics in the game. At the end of the day, it's like, you know, every other exotic that we have. It has its place, but it's not the next Memento. It's not the next Eagle Bear Year One where it just is far and above everything else. It's just, you know, it has its role. It has its certain build setups that it can adhere to and do well in. And I think it, you know, like I said, just soars in that category. That doesn't mean it's perfect. If it were up to me, I would probably give it some buffs. I might raise the armor kit value up to 20 or 25%. I would probably give you some sort of bonus for picking up kits when you're already at full armor, because that happens quite a lot. But overall, like I said, it still has its niche. Its talent can fit into a few different build ideas quite well, and I think it has its usages within the game. Overall, at the end of the day, if I had to give a recommendation on whether or not you should go and pick this one up, I think it is worthwhile getting. It's pretty hard for me not to recommend someone getting an exotic or a gun in this game, because there's so much creativity to be had with the just, you know, core concept of build making in this game, and the Dr. Home is no different than anything else in that there are builds and setups out there for you to make work, and everybody is going to bring something different to the table in terms of how they could utilize a certain gun or a certain talent to make it work for their playstyle and the way that they want to enjoy the game, and that's ultimately what I think the Dr. Home achieves. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on the new Dr. Home exotic rifle that has just been added to the Division 2. What do you think about the weapon and its talent? Are you satisfied with this new exotic? Do you think it was worth the wait to put it behind the General Anderson Manhunt? Whatever your thoughts are on those or anything else about this new exotic, I would love to hear your thoughts on it down below, and I will as always be very curious to read through those. That is going to do it for me today, though, everybody. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold. Ow.